Hey everybody, this is my first YouTube video. I've already started everything, but I'm going to try to talk you through what I found works for me. My situation is I have a cattle guard on my road to my farm, and I have two ponds on my farm with fish in it. So instead of spending whatever it is for fishing worms, I figure, well, maybe I try to make my own, get my grandkids out to dig up some worms. And anyway, cleaned out the cattle guard, got some night crawlers down in there. Mother Nature, God, put it all down in there, and the worms survive down in the cattle guard. It just doesn't make sense to me. But when you look at YouTube videos, everybody's telling you buckets and compost and all the stuff involved. So I'm just going to try to use leftover scraps, keep it pretty organic, and make my own, start this thing of growing some worms. They say they reproduce pretty heavy, but it takes a little while. So I got probably various sizes worms in here. I'm going to say probably from an inch to 4 inches long. Some of them are really small and some of them are pretty good size, ready for fishing now. So I'm going to put them in there, and not knowing much of anything. The soil looks good. It's got leaves in it. I added some coffee and some paper. I got the paper wet, just paper that you get like in some cardboard. Cut it up small pieces. I guess they like that too. I don't like putting a lot of crap in for these worms to eat on, but I'll start off with something. With the dirt I got out of the cattle guard, and I'm adding paper and other stuff just to maybe hopefully help them out. Coffee grounds and I think I got some apple peels in here and some strawberries and such. So we'll see how it goes. So what I did was I added all my mixture of paper and cardboard and food scraps. I put them in there with the worms for about 24 hours, and then I drilled. I got 3 buckets, and this one is going to be my bottom bucket. And the idea of this is maybe to keep the worms from crawling through the holes that you need to have in the other buckets, and or if you add water to it, it sifts through all the water and the castings from the worms. The water goes through and it creates, I guess it's called tea, worm tea, and that's good fertilizer for the garden if that's something you're into and whatever. So in this you have a bucket that I'm going to set down inside here, and as you can tell, it sits up pretty high. So once you probably got about, I don't know, about 3 inches, 4 inches of clearance. And I saw in the video one guy, he drilled holes like right here in the white bucket, and it lifted it higher. But again, I don't want to leave worms in here forever, so I may have to make a bigger system to keep them in. But the idea is to put this stuff into that and let them do their thing. Of course, some worms are going to go down in the bottom, so I'm going to eventually have to get a screen. But what's cool about this is you can just dump it out and dump it back in. I'm going to get a screen from the hardware store, cut it to fit, to prevent the worms from going down. I saw some people use silicone and all that. I just don't want to add those chemicals to these worms. It's not necessary. They grow out in the wild really good. So put the worm bedding down in here, and ventilation holes right here to help with keeping, instead of mold or mildew, whatever growing inside of the dirt and the leaves, everything decomposing, allow for the off gas of that stuff to work. And then the next theory is to add this bucket, and this bucket here kind of built the same way. I might even put some bolts in this to lift it up a little bit, but the idea of this is you can leave the worms alone and put this down in here and leave those holes exposed so that the worms can come up through their bedding into the compost when they're done with what they're eating in this bucket. Once they're done eating all that, it goes into here. You'll start feeding this, you'll feed this bucket, the top bucket. So you got 3 layers. I'm certain they'll do fine. They're pretty resilient, you know, creatures, and they'll hell, they lived in a cattle guard for I don't know how long, all through the winter, all through the summer, and a lot of rain. The rain just kind of sits there and soaks through the ground. So I'm certain that they're pretty resilient and tough. So hopefully unless I add anything to really kill them with chemicals or silicone or whatever, just kind of let them do their thing. I'm certain it's gonna be a redo somewhere along the way. I'll probably watch another video somewhere, or someone will comment on this video. But again, this is my first video. If it's horrible, I apologize. If I don't make sense, I apologize. But I'm thinking while I'm talking, and you know how that can go sometimes. So I'm pretty excited, and getting tired of spending money on worms and putting it in my pond that I got beautiful bass and bluegill, and I got some good fish in there. So trying to get it under control and not spend any more money. As you know, farm life is about being tight with your money and trying to, and heck, grandkids can learn a lot from this if you get them involved. So hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe, and we'll see how this goes. I do a lot of chores and a lot of stuff on the farm that I never video, and we'll see how it goes. All right, take care. God bless.